Hello everybody and welcome to a new video. On this video I will tell you how I got started in the musical instrument retail business. A business where I worked for about 10 years in 3 different stores, in where I went from being a salesman to a guitar department manager to a senior department manager, where I learned a lot about guitar and amplifiers and the business behind it, and of course customer service. Now this is going to be a story about betrayal and frustration and about pushing on to get what back then to me was my dream gig. So gather around children for a new episode of Storytime with Pat. Okay, so we've all had some really crappy jobs, especially in the beginning when we're starting out. My first job was actually at a 7-Eleven and I had to work the graveyard shift, which was from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. because when I first applied for the job, that was the only opening they had available, and they were supposed to transfer me within the first 2 weeks, but they never did. After a while, almost a year, I was done with it. I was really tired all the time, and I had to drive an hour back home after doing the graveyard shift, and it got a little dangerous, because I would almost fall asleep every day driving back home. So I decided to get a job that was closer to my place. It's not like I was swimming in 7-Eleven money. So yeah, living in Miami, I figured I'm just going to go to the places where it's full of tourists and just get some random job at a restaurant where I can get some real moolah from the tips and stuff like that. And I left curriculums everywhere, but everybody had a problem with my hair. The only place that would actually hire me with no experience was Johnny Rockets. And they would only hire me under one condition. I would have to put my hair up in a bun and hide it underneath that little sailor hat they have. So yeah, it wasn't great, but money was okay. I mean, I had to pay for rent and stuff like that, but I don't have to tell you that working there wasn't optimal. 50s music is okay, but when you have to listen to it over and over and over again every day, 6 days a week, it gets really annoying. So yeah, now that I actually had experience waiting tables, I actually decided to include that in my resume and start throwing that around. Back then I actually worked on a street that was packed with restaurants, so they would see me come and go every day. So I got a job at a high-end Italian restaurant. Now the thing with the Italian restaurant is that since it was a high-end restaurant, you would have to really dress up, you would have to really make sure you don't get any of the orders wrong, you would have to bust your ass, you wouldn't really have a lot of tables, so the money and the turnover wasn't really all that great. And a lot of people that went there didn't really tip. There was a 15% tip included to the bill, but I, as a waiter, had to tip out the food runner, the hostess, the bartender, and the busboy. So I was basically making the same amount of money, but in a way more stressed environment. So after a really stressful night, I actually got in an argument with my manager, and I decided to leave. So the next day, I got up really early, and I figured I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go get my dream gig. Now this was actually not going to be my first experience in the musical instrument retail business. I had actually worked part-time at a different store before, but it was just part-time and I was a stock boy, which meant that we would have to receive inventory and just put it on the shelves. And then anytime a guitar or amplifier is sold, if we had a second unit in the back, I would have to make sure that it got on the floor. So there was a lot of downtime and the pay wasn't all that great. But I was 16 back then and I only worked 2 days a week. But this time, I was going for the gold. So yeah, I figured every musician in town is gonna try to get this gig, so I really need to stand out. So I made sure that I did just that. I got my button-down shirt on, dress pants, my best pair of boots on, and I was out first thing in the morning. Of course, I defaulted to Guitar Center. There really aren't a lot of mom and pop stores in Miami, and I figured a place like Guitar Center is gonna have a lot of turnover. So that was probably my best bet. So I got on my car and I drove 45 minutes to the Hallandale store. So when I got there, I asked to speak with the manager, and when they asked me why, I told them, I'm looking for a job. So they told me that the only way they hired was actually online. So I would have to upload my resume and then expect a call back. So I said thank you and left. Since I was already dressed up, I figured I'm just going to go to the next store and see what happens. So I got on my phone and I typed in guitar stores, and Sam Ash came up first. So I went to that store. I drove about 45 minutes in the opposite direction. I had to go all the way south to a mall that's actually close to the airport. And when I got there, I was actually really excited about the job because there was a lot of traffic in the store. By being in a mall and all, it actually had a lot of people just coming in and out all the time, and it attracted a lot of customers and a lot of tourists. So I figured if I get this gig, I'm gonna clean up. So I asked to speak to a manager, who shall remain nameless, and they told me, yeah, he'll be right with you. So I decided to wait around and walk around the store. Okay, so 5, 10, 15 minutes go by, and there's still no manager. So I asked a different person because I didn't want to ask the same person. I don't want to be annoying or rude. I'm actually waiting for the manager. Maybe he's a little bit busy or he forgot about me. Could you please remind him that I'm waiting for him? And he said, oh, sure, yeah, no problem. So he comes into the manager's office and he comes out about 2 minutes later and he says, yeah, don't worry about it. He'll be out in about a second. So another 5, 10, 15 minutes go by and still nothing. Now, mind you, at this point, I'm just walking around the store for like half an hour and I really want to grab a guitar to play. But I want the manager to know that I mean business. I'm not there to fool around. So yeah, another 5, 10, 15 minutes go by and finally he comes out. And he looks at me and I kid you not. And he tells me, yeah, I'm a little bit busy today. Could you come back in a week or two? After an hour of me standing around. Of course, I was like, fuck this guy. So I turn around and leave. And as I'm leaving, I go by customer service and I ask the girl that was at the counter, is there another Sam Ash close by? And she tells me, well, this one in Miami Lakes is not really that close, but you can probably get there in about 40 minutes. It's up north. And I was just like 5 minutes away from that store. So I got the address and I drove up there. Now finally, after being in Miami's traffic for like an hour, I get to the store and it's a completely different vibe. There's like nobody there. There's like 1 or 2 customers maybe. Salesmen hanging out, eating lunch together. So I asked to speak with the manager and Dave comes right out. And he introduces himself as the general manager and asks me, why in the world would you want a job here? And I just lost it. I thought it was hilarious. And also I was like, I want to work for this guy. This guy doesn't give a f***. So we walk into the office and he looks at my resume and he goes, waiter, huh? And I say, yep. So he says, I'm sure you can serve a mean burger, but what do you know about guitars? So he asked me a couple of simple questions, like what's the difference between a humbucker and a single coil pickup? Do you know how to change strings on a guitar? What do you tune the guitar to? What do you tune the bass to? Do you know how to set up a guitar? What's the difference between a head and a cab and a combo amplifier? Just random stuff like that. He asked me who was my favorite guitar player, to which of course I answered Brian May. And he was like, all right, man, Brian May rules. So we started talking about Queen and then Pink Floyd and then some of the bands. And then he was actually a guitar player for an 80s metal band. So we started talking about that and I thought we really hit it off. So yeah, at that point the interview was over. We were just chatting it out. So somebody comes into the office and says, hey Dave, I need your help with something. Could you come out of the office? So at that point I thanked him and I left the office. And as I'm walking out, Dave goes, hey Pat, I might just call you. And I just turned around and I told him, do it, you won't regret it. And he was like, yeah, we'll see about that. So I left. And so the waiting begins. Day 1, 2, 5, 7. So at that point I am really stressing out. Because I figured maybe they just hired someone else. Maybe somebody else came back to work. Maybe they just don't need anybody in the guitar department right now. So I went online and I filled out the Guitar Center application. Now, at this point, I am actually getting a little desperate because I am actually eating away the little savings I had because I still needed to pay for rent, car insurance, gas, cell phone bills, internet, and so on. So I figured, tough break, I'm just gonna have to find a job doing whatever because I need the money and I can't just wait around forever. But I said to myself, before I do that, let me just give him a call and see what the hell happened and why didn't I get the gig and if they actually did consider me for it. So I get on the phone and I call the store and customer service picks up. So I asked to speak to a manager and she asked me which manager and I didn't remember his name. So at this point I'm really nervous, I'm kind of stressing out. And she says, don't worry about it, here's Jim. And she patches me through. So Jim picks up the phone and I am super nervous because at this point it's make or break. So I tell him, hey Jim, how's it going? I don't mean to bother you, but I just want to follow up on a job interview that I had with you guys last week. You guys were supposed to call me back, but I never heard back from you, so I just wanted to know if the job was still available. And he said, yeah, you're the guy with the long hair, right? We've actually tried to reach you, but Dave's sister got sick, so he had to fly up to New York, and we have no idea where he left your resume. So we didn't really have any contact information for you. But yeah, I am really glad you called. He was really impressed with you. Do you own any black t-shirts? And I was like, yeah, exclusively. And he said, cool, can you start tomorrow? And I remember this vividly. I started jumping up and down in my bedroom. So I told him, of course, I'll be there first thing in the morning. And he said, come in at 11 so that I can start training you. So yeah, the next day I was so amped up, I couldn't really sleep overnight. And the day of my interview, I had drove so much around that I had no idea how far or how close the store was from my house. So I got up really early and I drove there just in case to see how long it took me. And it took me about 45 minutes. Needless to say, I was there at 10:15. So I actually waited in the parking lot for 45 minutes. And that's how I got started in the music retail business. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Drop me a like if you did. Drop me a comment in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to this channel like a man. And of course, if you want to become a part of the team and support the channel, make sure you hit that join button down there. I will see you guys next time. Pat out. Metal on, dudes.